Come on.
Search together. Search together. IPSA. We're not just a name in a directory. Local minds with national synergy.
There we are. Not just the name of a directory. Local minds, natural synergy. That's what IPSA is all about. Now, of course, I'm going to introduce you who we have on the show today, and welcome everyone. Of course, Hamish McClay of Search Convey, the chairman of the current IPSA or IPSA, or how you want to say it, and of course, the dearest Bharti Bua, who's old friend of the show, of Whitefield Legal Services. Hasn't been on the show a while. We're really pleased to have her back. Today's show. Oh, yeah, my pleasure. It's lovely to see you again. And
thank you.
Now, we've been started on a new series recently, haven't we, Hamish? And we're all enjoying it. But can you start us off, please?
Well, absolutely. I mean, to me, it's because I've known, particularly Bharti, I've known for about 20 years now. And so many of the others I've known, but certainly Bharti about the language. I'm sure I met Bharti on my very first meeting when I belonged to IPSA, and I do remember going all that way back. And the great thing, of course, is over the years we've done a lot of work together. And one of the great things about Bharti, she has this tremendous way with councils, because she knew that the councils that we were going to, she knew better than I did in some respects. But it was really rather good. I do remember one of the ones. It was an old Ford plant outside Warwick, which was ever so cumbersome. It started looking cumbersome. It just had planning permissions all over it because they wanted to sell it for redevelopment. Of course, it's not there any longer. But it does actually reflect what we are about at the Association of Independent Property Search Agents. Because here we are all independent businesses, yet however we have this cooperative, and different people have found their way here, completely different directions, completely different sort of routes. So it's great to have Bharti on board with us so we can find out what on earth drove her down this road.
Good Lord. And Bharti, welcome to the show. I know that I've met all sorts of people, Jackie and Heather and so on, and they've all had different routes by which they got here. Now, as Amos said, you've been in this. You are apparently the council charmer. I feel like I should get a flute out. You know?
I don't know about the charmer. They called me the Rottweiler at the time. I was not taking any nonsense from them to say that, oh, we can't give you this and that. I said, no, it's my business. I need to have it now.
No, so it wasn't always what you wanted to do.
But you know what? I knew how council worked. I started my career in a local council. I was there for 10 years, and I worked through different departments because I used to get bored about. But the longest I spent was on the land charges one, where I learned the job of exactly what happens, how the data is collected, but how the data should be formatted and all of that, and how quickly we should get it out. So after 10 years, they made my job redundant with other, they were trimming down because the council couldn't afford so many people and whatever. But the wrong department, they trimmed it down, right? Because that's an earning department. Council earned good money from the clients, right? And then what happened was they said, right, I'm sorry, you have to go. We're trimming down, there's no choice. And I left. And once I left, and I was at a loose end. I didn't want to work for somebody else anymore. I wanted to do something of my own. And I thought, what better? And then it just happened. A couple of clients I got to know so well, local clients. And they managed to get
charge.
Sorry? So they got in touch with me. They got my mobile number and they got in touch with me. And that's where I began my career in the searches. And that was end of 2004, beginning of 2005. So I was running for two clients across the country. I had never been to other councils.
Charge.
So it's
And ladies and gentlemen, you can tell this is a live show. Apologies for that. Carry on, Bharti.
and once I started getting things moving, I got a small platform done. So where I was typing my information, getting the land charges, and booking the searches in the morning, then typing the searches at night, which
Low
would
battery. Please charge.
that would go back up to about 3 o'clock in the morning, and that is the beginning of my career in searches, and it has flourished, because at 2005 2006 was the best time where we got the clients. They just came in because they were so fed up working with councils.
Right.
I grew really fast, and then came the hips, and we did incredibly well.
And you see,
And
before I got involved with IPSA, of course, I thought hips were just referring to some sort of dancing move, but it's all in the hip.
It was a home information pack. But I joined IPSA because I struggled to get people from other parts of the country to do my searches, right? So I used to travel. I've gone to Melbourne Council, that is right somewhere in Cambridgeshire, near Cambridgeshire. I didn't even know. I went to Fenland, you see, and I traveled, and I started getting people knowing the search agents there, and then I started making contact. And then I think it was one of the guys from where we were working said, we're going to form a group. And that was the start of my journey with IPSA. So I think I was one of the founder person to join, and at that time we were about.
So you've seen it really right from the start.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say that its focus has changed now, or has it always remained the same?
It's remained the same. We know more. IPSA Group knows more about searches than anybody else. The new people coming in, they'd be astounded at how much work that goes into doing those searches. It's not just taking some part of some information and putting it into the report. No, you have to look at it and investigate what can go wrong, right? So it was a lot of work at the time. But then IPSA came along, and I remember Dave Kay. I was calling Dave Kay every day. Dave, how do you put this information? Though we knew the information where to go, but when you start doing regulated searches, which was called personal searches, it was difficult at that time. And Dave was just incredibly, I was grateful to him. He did a lot of teaching to me. So remember, Dave used to do the running the classes for the newbies that would have come in. Hamish.
Oh yes, indeed. One of the great things about sort of Dave, I've been working for about a year or something, and then bumped into Dave, and then as a consequence, find out all the things I hadn't been doing right. So he was a great support, and. As Bharti was saying also, it was quite interesting. I came across a company today which had similar initials. I can't remember what it was, IPA or something. And we had that little logo, which found a member of IPSA. And of course, the cooperation, the friendship has not changed really right from the start.
Yeah.
And there's a number of people actually going around. And the great thing is we can interchange, we can give each other work. And that to me sort of adds it, because the great thing about it, when we do actually sort of get together, and just as a matter of interest, any COPSO members, any IPSA members about, we're going to a conference tomorrow, the COPSO conference, which all IPSA members are invited to, by the way. And the COPSO is the Council of Property Search Organisations, which is rather different to us. They're set up for organisations we are set up for the individual
Thank you.
personal search agents, which is very,
Yeah.
very different. But we do have a lot of dealings with them. With them, and the PCCB came about. All of these complications came in that Bharti didn't face in the early days, and I didn't face in the early days. The thing is, Bharti knew what she was doing as well,
Yeah.
because having worked in the land charges department, she knew a lot more about it.
Yeah.
So it did take a bit of a while, but it was great of Dave Kay to sort of come along and help our newbies, because he's actually sort of trained up a couple of our people. In fact, 3-4 of us all together.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great group to belong to. It gives you a support system. Even now, if you can't find somebody to do your searches outside your area, where would you go? And for me, it's priority that client gets the searches in the time limit we've given them, and it shouldn't go above. And if you ask some of my peers who works with us, they're saying, "Oh, Bharti is so quite demanding." Yeah, I am demanding because I've promised my client that they should have a search in 5 days. They should get a search in 5 days. So, and they're there to my request. Somebody who said, "Look, it's the council," then I would ring up the council myself. But the local councils where I was, they were just like, they used to say to the search agent, "Please, can you take Bharti's searches and not her come to the council?" It was quite funny because, I used to be having a go at them on the phone, and they are my greatest friends. There are girls who are still working there. So if we need a search in Bonnet, I just call Denise up, and Denise turns it around. It's really, really urgent. I don't take the piss out of them as well. You don't really take advantage of them, but you get that service, and it said, "Oh, Bharti needs the search. It must be urgent." So
Right.
they turned it around in 24 hours. We put it on a Thursday night, and Friday morning we had the search. Who can give you that service if you don't have a relationship?
So,
Right.
so what you're saying is that it's much more important to build those relationships in councils and in land charges. I suppose it does help that you are a gamekeeper turned poacher. I mean, if you see what I mean, you used to be on the inside. Now you're looking from the outside in, but at least you know where all the bodies are buried.
Yeah, but you know what? Even when working in the council, you appreciate when the clients have something urgent, because they have been pushed from every which end, right? So I was the one who deliver it, and the girls would be shouting at me, said, "You're being too kind." They get used to it. But those are the people who came with me, and Gareth, you won't believe they are still with me. All this client that came through various, one guy he set up his practice, lawyer's firm, and I was just setting up mine, and I thought, right, we need to do some cold calling. So I called him endlessly. He got so fed up. It was unbelievable. For a whole week I would be trying him every 5 minutes, right? And he said, "Oh, I need to take this call." And he's still my client. I have clients from 15 years, and they've been approached by corporates, and they said, "Sorry, no, we're sticking with Whitefield because we know we pick up the phone and we get the service. I don't need to talk to a caller,
But it seems to me, Hamish, that all over IPSA, I'm hearing stories that if you go via factory conveyancing, you could be waiting weeks for your results. If you go via an IPSA member, the likelihood is it will be shorter than that.
Well, the challenge is, of course, for the corporate people, they are working at it from a different basis. Now, whilst they do keep 1 or 2 search agents these days, it's not very common, because what they feel that they can do is carry out the searches from their desks. They can gather the information, actually sort of do that, and the experience they've had. But of course, the times have changed, and it's not always the best way. And the problem is, because they're doing it that way, this is something Bharti reinforced, and I mentioned we've mentioned so many times in the past, is the relationship you have. And I think to a certain extent,
Yeah.
although the number of London councils have had some challenges, the great thing is about Bharti, she knows her way through, and she knows the seriousness, because a lot of the time people blame the councils or they blame the land charges department. Very often it's not their fault.
It's not. It's
Somebody in
not. And
their-
it's you know, Hamish, you're so right. It is not their fault. Like Hackney, you know, was 42 days turnaround. I was in middle of Atlantic and I got a call. And it was this principal calling me. He said, Bharti, we need this search ASAP. We can't wait because the mortgage expires, deposit is going to be lost, you know, and my client can't afford that. And I said, what to do with me sitting in middle of the Atlantic? So I spoke to I've got a guy who works that area, East London area. So I rang up Paul. I said, Paul, can you go to land charges and just find out what's going on? You know, bless him. He went to the land charges and he said they're really, really, really busy. But you can do it this way, you know, just pay for land charges, right? So I said to my guys who were working with us, you know, can you pay the land charges and then I'll sort it out from there. You know, bless them, you know, they did it in 5 days, 42 days to 5 days, then, and they got the actual search on the day they wanted to exchange. You know,
1/8.
so what does it
at a
say,
time.
right?
1/8
When you
at a
have
time.
relationship,
Yeah.
this is called relationship, you know, and they know council staff are just so stretched at the moment, you know, in every which way. And you appreciate that. They're stretched, they can't deliver. It's not like they're sitting there doing nothing. And it's become a little bureaucratic as well there, you know. And when the cyber attack happened, it's not their fault, right? It happens. But the mortgage company is not going to look at that. The deposit, the estate agent doesn't want to look at that. They just want to search. Yeah, you can get an insurance, but that doesn't cover everything, does it?
No, the search is the base of it all. Hamish, it's been a really good show, really, really lively. Thank you so much, Bharti.
You're welcome.
Would you care to take us home?
Right. Well, so I mean, one of the great things to me was it was quite funny the other day that I was speaking to somebody, a potential of a sort of new client, and I said, well, you actually can get search delay insurance because some councils, we know the councils. I mean, unfortunately, Hackney's one of those which has been hacked. You can't blame them. Lost out a similar situation because of their close association with Land Registry and the fact that we work with Land Registry. Some of these councils can turn it around very, very quickly. But we do have a very good working relationship, not just with our clients, not just with the councils, but with Land Registry as well.
Yeah.
One of the big challenges we have outside of London now, I mean, London, it's staff shortage. They're trying to speed up the system. They put in this computerized thing, but they don't have the people to carry out and sort the queries out. But outside of London, of course, we've got all of these unitary authorities sort of coming up.
Right.
So we're losing contact with people who are the real experts who've been there. Because like Bharti said, she was made so many of them are being made redundant now. And
it is unfortunately a theme that's going on at the moment in councils and land charges departments. Perhaps, like Bharti says, they are cutting off their own nose to spite their face. You know, because the land charge is one of the places where councils actually make money.
It was making money.
Yes.
Not so much these days. That's one of the sad aspects about it. Because with Land Registry taking over responsibility, Land Registry get the loot, not the council.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
It's slowly getting into that, aren't we? There's still Land Registry is working towards getting all the councils, isn't it? It is still, I mean
there's a few of your, I think there's a few in London, aren't there, Bharti, so far?
a few have gone on Land Registry, but there's still quite a lot to go on there.
Yeah. We're best.
But that is that is the issue with the land charges department, because they're going to lose that control in one sense, and they're losing money, so it comes out to the search agents. Oh, you're taking our jobs, you're taking our our bread from our mouths or something like that. But it started to evolve. Everything has to evolve into and streamline. But and somebody's going to get hit in that, right?
It's unfortunately the way of the world. Whenever things change, something at some point gets either rejected or rejected. It's just kind of part of the evolution of it. But once again, another lively IPSA session. Thank you so much for taking part in it, Bharti.
Thank
Lovely,
you.
lovely
Thank
to
you
see
for having
you again.
me. Nice
No,
to
it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And Hamish, your sage advice and steerage is always helpful. Thank you very much for playing a part in it too. And to all of you watching, we'd love to hear more stories of how you came to be where you are in IPSA, and what was your own driver, and some stories about the past. There's some really amusing ones from Jackie and so on. But look, until next time, don't worry, we've got more property shows coming up. We've got one tomorrow, which is of course Property Quorum, and on Friday, Cladding Matters. But until the next time I see you, please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and in these troubled times, please look after your mental health. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Local skill with national connection. Independent, but never alone. IPSA, where your professional home.